Okay, well, we're looking at the Greber Forte piano, 1815 or thereabouts, and I was looking at all the things I was liking about the piano and things that are interesting and curious in the last video, and in this video I want to look at things that are wrong with the piano and things I'm going to have to fix if I can. Well, the first thing, just off the bat, I would point out, it has been restrung. These are not the original wires, and I'd be surprised to find them, but the piano has, at some point in its recent lifespan, been restrung and repinned with what I suspect are zither pins. I've checked them, they're tight, they work. They're about a 5mm pin, which I think is a little big for this instrument, but they're in there. No idea about the appropriateness of the wire, but whoever did it did a pretty neat, intelligent job, so I don't imagine that what I'm looking at is Mapes International Gold wire. This is probably Malcolm Rose iron and brass wires. I will do what I can to ascertain and decide whether this stuff should be retained or not. But that's just the strings. The piano's real problems start over here under the strings in the soundboard. As you can see, there's some pretty impressive cracks in the board, lateral cracks, and some buckling up, some heaving, which is a little bit new in my experience, but when I examined the structure, it all kind of fell into place. But along with that splitting and heaving, the ribs on the underside of it are coming loose all over the place, and the practicality of actually reattaching them without taking the soundboard out is not realistic. And up here in the treble, if I can bring some light to bear here, if you can see the bridge there is attached to one section of soundboard, and you can see that it's shifted 3 full millimeters above another section of soundboard that is still in its original position. So somehow down inside the structures of this, the soundboard has moved forward, or the corner here has moved backward. There's also a, you can see the edge of the soundboard right there, exposed in front of the hitch pin rail. So that's all loose down through there and would need to be reattached. And at the moment, because of the shifting, the notes up at the high end are 3 full millimeters too short. So you wouldn't really get a proper scale out of the piano if this corner shift isn't dealt with in one fashion or another. The case looks pretty solid. Okay, now I showed you how the soundboard or something has shifted such that the bridge is 3 millimeters forward of where it should be, thus distorting all the scale up here. Well, that's not the half of it. Okay, so we get down here. I have a straight edge here, and when I put it up against the front of the stretcher, let's see, it's contacts there, and as you can see, it has a very, very strong bow to it. And it's not hard to figure out where that comes from. I mean, there's a lot of steel pulling on this little stretcher. Maybe that's where that comes from. But as you can see, since the front termination point is marked off by a nut bridge that's mounted to the pin block itself, when the pin block is that distorted, there we go, when the pin block is that distorted, then the whole scale through the middle is distorted to precisely that degree right there. And that needs to be addressed. I'm not sure if it can be remedied entirely, but it is dramatic enough that it would take all the tension off the middle of the piano as far as musical quality goes, and this whole midsection would lose all its life. And right about here, you can see through the strings that wrought iron brace there. That is the one and only support that this whole pin block has. And let's take a look at what shape it's in. Okay, I hope this isn't too disorienting, but we're going to go down inside the action cavity, and what we can see is those are the damper actuator sticks hanging down, and right there is our main and only support rod. I think it's interesting to note that the designer managed to stick one damper tongue straight through it. I assume it couldn't be avoided. And there it has a footing at this end, and here's where this is getting tricky. A footing at this end. Now the footing at this end against the pin block seems to be in pretty good condition, the pin block being made of beech. Our problem is over here. If I can get the camera into a good spot for this. Of course, it's going to be difficult, but alrighty, there's the footing right there. I'm having a hard time getting a picture of it, but if you look at it, you can see that it is just plowing into what must be a soft pine belly rail. So I'm not really sure how much that's given. I mean, this thing's moved 1/4 of an inch, but this footing is compromised. Let's see if I can get above it here to see a little more. Let's see, you can see the wood being pushed literally upwards into it. So if I was to attempt any kind of repair here, I think what I would have to do is put in some kind of large, basically a plinth. I would use like 1/4 sawn rock maple, maybe 4 inches by 3 inches by 1/2 inch thick, set it into the face, make a new footing for this into them, and see if that doesn't stabilize, because the pine here obviously can't take this pressure directly into its side grain. It needs something to spread that pressure out more than just that little foot it's got there. That proved inefficient. I don't know if this is put in after market or not. As I understand it, a lot of this did happen after after manufacture, but these things then became standardized, so I'm not sure exactly what we're looking at here, but that's the the structural problem for the pin block. And I think this is also playing into the buckling of the key bed, because I think this piece of wood here is bending in, and since it carries the front edge of the soundboard with it, I think it's squeezing it and causing that buckling. Oh, let's see. We're over here. Might as well take a quick look inside. And if you look around, you can see these are all structural braces that go along the sides, and they go up to they go along the bottom, and they jack up to the sides, and see how they're radiating from a single point and cutting across. It's all in an effort to make the box as rigid as it can possibly be, because the box is really the only thing that supports, what I think is a couple of tons of tension on this thing. So which is, the weight of a small car. It's a lot for little sticks of wood of this size to take care of. But as you can see, I don't know if you can see down in there, there's a lot of looseness in the ribs, and this is the hole I would have to work through. I just can't do it. That board's got to come out if anything's going to happen. So that's just the skinny on that. Other than, I think some of these felts are wrong inside the little mechanisms. A small but consequential problem is that all these tabs on this need to be taken off and renewed. As you see right here, they've just come off. And the way this thing works as a unit is you pick up the bar, and those little tabs that hold your dampers in place, and you'd be able to take the whole unit away. As this is, I'd never get this back in if I took it out, so I have to limit what I can do with that till I actually, commence. But other than these, rather serious structural problems, I think the piano's in pretty good condition. And I think it could be made to sound pretty good if we can give it what it needs. Unfortunately, that's going to mean the board's got to come out. It's going to have to be adjusted. There's a lot of shrinkage in there, so we'll have to do our soundboard magic on that. Which is nothing more than a lot of gluing and repairing and adding of shims in appropriate places, as I'm sure you understand. But I think it could be a nicely playable instrument. Take a quick look at the action before we go. Okay, now we're over here taking a look at the action, and it is, I believe, astonishingly original for its age. All these bits here, whatever these are called, the retainers, are all original. The shank pivots are all original. A good number of shanks have had new ends put on them. I did my own little repair on this one here. But with all the new wooden ends inserted, it looks like they managed to keep all the original hammers, which is just delightful. Because there's nothing worse than trying to patch in a mongrel, especially on something that's you have no hope of finding another original. So all in all, I'm really psyched about the condition of the action. There are some regulation questions I'm going to have to look into. I mean, it looks like some of these the hammer repair might have been, see how that one seems to be in a little bit. I don't know if that would ever back check. So I know these all have to be in kind of a line, so I may have to redo some of these repairs, but that's, again, the difference between that and having to make something out of scratch is a pretty good thing. So if you have any questions or you have some comments for me, I would love to hear them. This would be a very conservative restoration on our part, but I would like to take it slow, do it right, and have something worth sharing in the end. So I'll talk to you soon.